What if I told you you could be 100% successful in propagating one of your favorite plants? Yeah, look at this specimen. Isn't this the most beautiful holiday cactus imaginable? Look, it's a beautiful salmon pink. I also have one that is a beautiful yellow. And then I have the other traditional colors. And you would be surprised at the variety there is out there. This is my white one. This one has more buds on it. My pink ones, I'll show you a clip, have little tiny buds on it. Why did these bloom earlier? We'll get to that later. But yes, you can be 100% successful in propagating your Christmas cactus, Thanksgiving cactus from cuttings and have as many as you'd like, all for free. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I hope you follow along. And we're also going to pot up some that I have rooted, and I'll show you the 3 different mediums that I did propagate these cuttings in. Okay, first of all, the mediums that I've used. Now with this one, I did with rocks. There are a few rocks in the bottom of this painted jar. This is just a salad dressing jar that I painted with poppies and lupins. And you can see these roots are really kind of rangy looking, grubby, but they've been in here a long time. They've been in here too long. I just haven't gotten to this. Now I did not mark, whoops, look, I'm reaching for my glasses. I did not mark the color of what these were. Sometimes I mark it on the leaves, and sometimes when they fall off or snap off, I just plop them in something and I know I'll just propagate them. They'll bloom, a lot of times the first year, and then I'll know what color they are, so it's no big deal. Forgive if you hear us plane going over. It is a fire spotter. There is a forest fire not too far from here, and we'll get notice if we need to evacuate, but that's why you hear that going around. So the first thing I said I was going to show you the mediums. Okay, this one was in rocks. This one was in sand. Look at that clump of sand. And get it back down in there. Kind of like the sand. And this one was just in water. And yeah, you can see the roots on it. Now, how do you take these cuttings? Well, I'm going to go over here with this white one. I have more white ones, so usually the timing of doing this would be just after they're finished blooming. Now, sometimes you can get a second bloom. Many times, especially this white one, it bloomed again in May and June. My others did not, so I guess it depends on the color or variety, but pruning your Christmas cactus is something you want to do to keep it in check, because these would get so huge and drape down, it would knock the pot over, whatever. So I prune it back just after it is done blooming. So I'm going to bring the camera up close and I'm going to show you how I prune, but then these cuttings that I prune off are what will get rooted in these different mediums. So let me bring you up close. So I'm going to do it actually, instead of from that white one, I'm going to take cuttings from this piece. That was a cutting from another plant that I took probably last spring. But so here you see all these different leaves and nodes, or bracts as they're called. And I will go back. I like to do 3 on one. You can do 1, you could do 2, and you can do 3. You can even do more. You see, this one was a big piece, and I rooted the whole thing. But it's entirely up to you. I know a lot of growers that they sell these in around holiday times, that they do 1 at a time, and they'll poke more than 1 into a pot. So let's just do my 3. So here, I need to turn this so I don't get my fingers in your way. Now you see this one? I'm going to gently twist it, and pull. Now, I want you to see this little nub here. Now it has little roots already, little hairy things, because the moisture in the jar makes it produce these. And that could be roots. But you see this little nub here? Let me see if you can see it against my finger. That, you want that on there for some reason, and I can't explain to you why. If it does not have that, they're harder to root. But, so this piece, I would put down, okay, say I'm gonna do it in water. Take these water ones out. I would put it in the water. Now, some people say to let it lay out after you've done the cutting and let it callus over. When I put them in water or sand or gravel or rocks, I don't bother. I don't bother with this. And as you can see, they have rooted just fine. There's roots. And yeah, look at this. This is the one in water. See those roots? So that is an option. If you're going to do it in soil, which I've had limited success with potting right into soil and having them survive and not rot, because maybe I overlove them, I don't know. But then you would want to let them callus over, and that prevents bacteria and whatever from rotting them. So that's how you would prune your holiday cactus. And I'll go up and I'll demonstrate on my plant without taking one off, because I want my buds to bloom, or to bloom. But anyways, so that is how you twist off a cutting. And like I said, you could do one piece at a time. And see, it has the little nub. And you could put all three of these into a container like these. This is a wee yogurt jar. You could put them all down in here. I would put a little sand or something in here so you don't get too much water, because this might be a little bit too much water. Now this one I have on my windowsill, so I can always see how much water is in here. And if it dries out a little bit, that's no big deal. And there we go, I had that drop in there. Anyways, so yeah, you could do individual ones. And there you see how that has the nub on it. I guess I could put it against the green leaf, the nub. So there are those three. Where's the other one? Okay. That I could put into a pot of soil after I let them harden off, and they would all grow. Or I can root them ahead of time. The rooting ahead of time is what makes you 100% successful, because I've never had any not root when done this way. So I'll bring it back up, and then we can pot these ones that have rooted up. It's a no-brainer, but I'll give you a few tips. So what I'm going to start with, well, I said I would show you. Now, from the plant, I showed you from a branch, or whatever you call these, bracts, and where I grabbed it and I twisted and pulled it off. Sometimes they can be a little tough. You might have to get your thumbnail in there. But as you saw, just twisting it and then pulling, it did the trick. So let's see, is there any, there's some on here that don't have a bud on them yet. I might do some of them. I think I have, like I said, I have another one inside. Anyways, okay, so I have a cleaned pot. Now these I got years ago at Walmart. They're a self-watering pot. You see the little grating in the bottom. And a lot of people will say that your plants will rot in these. Not if you do it right. I have a lot of my holiday cactus in them because they're a nice little pot. And you can see they're successful. This one is a larger one. And it works just fine. So what I do for my soil is, this is my homemade DIY potting soil. But if I was to buy a soil, I would put it in a container like this, and I'd mix a little more perlite in it. And I like to use horticultural sand. And I would say I add maybe a quarter more of the horticultural sand. So it's a well-draining mix. Now, why do I go ahead and add the sand? Now, this is not a cactus mix, because you know what? Even though they're called holiday cactus or a Christmas cactus, Thanksgiving cactus, they're an epiphyte, not a cactus. Now, some people said that using orchid soil, or however you pot orchids, works too, because the premise is the same before they grow. For me, that's too lightweight, because when they start draping, like this does, then they will topple. And if you need a good weight in the bottom, and that's why I like the horticultural sand. It not only adds drainage, but it also provides weight so that you won't have the plants toppling over. So I'm going to put this pretty full because I'll do it to this rim right here. And then you can water it without it overflowing. And okay, so I'm about an inch below that line. And I'm going to take this one that has rooted in water. And you see, the roots are kind of all mashed because they were growing against the bottom. Now, if I wanted to separate these out, I could, but I'm just going to put them in there like one, because these are 3 different leaf cuttings. These are 3 different cuttings that have kind of matted together, and I'm fine with that. So I'm going to set them in here. I'm going to try to keep them upright, and I'm going to cover the roots, the base of the little cutting, not a lot. I don't want a lot of the cutting under soil, but enough that it will hold it in place. And if I want to, I can come in and firm behind it so it stands up a little straighter instead of bowing down so much right away. Because once it grows up and out, it will go ahead and drape. So that, my friends, is how easy it is to pot it up. And as I said, the base, because someone asked me this question in one of my prior ones, how deep do you bury the roots? I would say there's half an inch on top of the roots and up the base of the bottommost leaf. Because it's already rooted, it's not going to rot. Now, if I was to do that with the cuttings before it rooted, I don't know. As I said, you know what? I haven't had great success with that method, but this one, this method, 100%. So that's why I said you can do this for sure. All right, here's another one. Now this one, there's several in here that have been rooted in sand. Oh, I did mark this one. Okay, let me look at it. This is the one I did mark. Okay, this was white. So this is a white one. And yep, I don't have any markings on what those are. But even though these have kind of gone together, grown together, just gently tease the roots apart. Now that's 2 there, and it looks like there's 3 over here. They could very well all be white, and I just didn't mark these others. But with the ones that are rooted in sand, I'll basically pot them up the same. Now, one thing, like I said before, with the white ones is they seem to rebloom. I've had some bloom in June, and it's just been amazing. So it's the same deal. These have, what I like about the sand is it kind of keeps it weighted. So I just set it on top of the soil, and I bury the sand. The roots that are in the sand, but it just looks like a big mass of sand. And you see how it's flopping already? I don't want that. So I will pull it up, and I will firm the soil down. It's very dry. I will moisten it. And I'll be careful when I moisten it, because when I moisten it, it may, have it drape. Now that's not working. So I can put a skewer in here and then tie that up to the skewer. Or I can just let it drape and be happy with it. And what would make it easier is also I could go ahead and take off these, and then this would stay up. So there, I have more cuttings to do. Now, you can easily get way too many plants doing this because you get, I don't know, addicted to it. So that was the sand one, and there's still a little bit of sand in here. Now this sand was not the horticultural sand. The horticultural sand is coarser. This was play sand, and it made a great medium for rooting. And I was trying out some different rooting mediums for different plants, and and the big bag of play sand was like $5, whereas this little bag of horticultural sand is like $7. So I was giving it a whirl. Now there is also what's called builder sand. Now it's a little dirty, but it is coarser usually, so that will work too. But you see how now it's upright? And as I water this in, they'll be firmed in and they won't tend to flop even as they start growing up until they get longer. Excuse me, had to sneeze. All right. So now this one, let me look at these roots. These roots are really kind of matted. Let me see if there's any more in here. Yeah, it's okay. Now I have a feeling these are the same color as each other because I was trying to be more organized about the cuttings I did. Now, again, if I wanted to make sure they're standing upright, I will cut these shorter. And if not, I can put a skewer in to support them up because sometimes you want it to look bigger, faster, and that's okay too. So there's many ways of potting it up, however you desire. And this is just my way. And it works. I should take you into, in fact, I will. I'll take you into the studio cottage, Primrose Cottage, and I will show you all of my different ones. Now, the yellow one isn't blooming yet. And yes, I said I was going to go back to why these are blooming earlier than the ones in my studio cottage. And that's because my studio cottage has been very, very cool inside. I didn't turn on the heat. And these have been in my office where it was warmer. So it triggered them to go ahead and bloom sooner than the ones out in the cottage. Now this is pretty heavy because of the sand, and it's one thing you want, especially if it's plastic pots. Now if you have a terracotta pot, they do have more weight with them, and that is a good choice. But let me see, after a while, your soil, these become root bound. They bloom better when they're root bound. And yeah, it is like a solid chunk, so it's a mass of roots. You do not have to pot them up at all. And I had seen one guy, gentleman, who was explaining how you need to pot them up to get the big bushy growth. And I will say that's not accurate entirely. I do not want a big bulky plant because I don't have anywhere for it. I love this size and this size because I can put them on my windowsill and enjoy them, or in a place in my office or around my home, and they're easy to move because they're not too heavy. But to get a big bushy plant, what you would do is, like this one, I would go ahead and put these other rooted cuttings in there. So there would be like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 in here. They will get root bound faster. They will bloom faster because of being root bound faster, and you'll have a thick, lush plant. And to keep them full or to keep them going without having to transplant or pot them up is you do the pruning. As I showed you at the beginning. And again, to repeat, you prune after they have bloomed. Like this one will be done in a week or 2. It may have throw out more buds, like these ones are blooming, but here's some more buds. And so when these are dying, falling off, these will be in bloom. And they may very well put on new little buds on the ones that don't have them yet. So that's how you get a few weeks of blooms. Now, if you want to know how I get my holiday cactus, Thanksgiving, Christmas cactus to bloom every single year, I will link to a video that I share. It's called My Wacky Tips for Growing Christmas Cactus. And some of the information there is probably repetitious of what I'm saying now, but yeah, that in there, I tell you my secrets to getting blooms all the time. And it's super easy. I'm not doing any special tricks like put them in a closet, take them out of a closet, covering them up, none of those. It is really a super simple way to do it. So let's go look at some of the varieties in my studio cottage. They are not blooming now, but I will try to pull up photos for you, a little photo show of the different colors that I have. So let's go out and see what's in the studio cottage. So I'll put that back in there. I will go ahead and pot those up. I just have to go get some more pots in a bit. So I had told you that the ones I shared with you during the presentation was Thanksgiving cactus. This is my true Christmas cactus. Now it doesn't have any buds yet, but it will by next month. And You see how rounded the leaves are on this one? Hopefully that's focusing. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see if it's focusing. And then you'll see how spiky the leaves are on this one. This is the Thanksgiving. The other with the rounded, lobed leaves, bracts, whatever you want to call them, that is the true Christmas cactus. Now here, I've potted another true Christmas cactus. This is a mix. I did Thanksgiving and a Christmas cactus in this pot so I could get continuous blooms on through December. Now this one down here is my yellow. I have stones in here because it was getting top heavy and I needed to weight it down a little bit. But I will share with you the pictures of that one. This one is unmarked, but I do believe it is another one of the salmons. Now you see how this salmon one is not blooming yet? Because it's very cool in here. So these other ones are not marked, but once they bloom, I will go ahead and mark them. And we'll see, there's another one over here. You see how it's tall? That's why it's leaning up against the window so that it keeps it from falling over. And here on this side, I have another Christmas cactus. I may go ahead and put cuttings in there of the Thanksgiving cactus. So again, it could be a mix that will bloom longer. Sorry for the light. My cover has now got holes in it. And yeah, I wanted to do this in the greenhouse, but we're still not done. We're getting there. Anyway, so I'm going to water this in. Now, I was just going to show you how this one doesn't have very deep roots. The soil is dry, so it's going to be loose. And I was going to see if I can get it to stay once I moisten the soil. Now I could, because it doesn't have deep roots yet and it's not rooted in, I'll get a skewer and I'll show you how I will fasten it up with a skewer, just prop it up, and that way it can go ahead and put down roots to anchor it. I'm watching this water to go through. And then I can remove the skewer and it'll stay upright. It's just these little tricks I do to get what I want from the plant when it won't stay where I want it to. Okay, so I'm gonna prop it up on that one. I'm gonna get a skewer. I'll be right back. Okay, what I did do was propped it up against that leaf and that worked, but I wanna go ahead. This is just a bamboo skewer. You can buy these at the grocery store. They make great plant props. And I'm not going to tie it to it. I'm just going to kind of lay the leaves around it that hold it up. And then again, once the roots start to grow, it will anchor it enough that it'll hold itself upright and I can remove the skewer. Now the skewer also, if you didn't want to have a garden marker down here, you could put a little flag on it with tape or whatever to have the name of the plant on it. That's just a little distracting to me, but that's okay. So water that one. Now if you wanted to make marker is sour cream tub, and I will cut it to the base. Now the tub already has a taper, so this is going to be rather tapered, but to make it easy to push it down into the soil, I give it a little point. One side still has that writing, but you can put the name of the plant on this side. Now, I don't know what color these are, so, oh yeah, I do. Which one? Oh, that's the white one, but it's written on there, and I don't know what color this is, so no big deal. But I would write the name on it with a marker, and then I would stick it down in here. Now, when this blooms, I will go ahead and write on that marker. All right, so that, my friends, is the super duper easy way to propagate with 100% success your Christmas cactus, your Thanksgiving cactus. I'm sure an Easter cactus works the same, but I have not done it personally. So I just wanted to make sure I gave that little spiel about that. At the beginning, I told you that these pots, these self-watering pots, many people say your plants will die using them. But if you use them correctly, that will not happen. Now with my holiday cactus, Christmas, Thanksgiving, I will water. When I water, I will let it run through to the bottom here in the catch tray. I will wait half an hour. And then if there's any water left, I will pour it out of this. Normally, I kind of have an idea of what I need to give the plants now, and I don't have any water sitting in there. Now, how often do you water? You know what? It depends on your climate. It depends on so many things. These are not, as I said, like cacti that like it drier. These, for me, I've always watered them about the same as my other house plants. And as long as they're not sitting in water, they do just fine. Now, in my one video, which I referred to as far as telling you how to get your cacti to, or your holiday cactus to bloom, in there I share with you that I prefer terracotta. And that is true for these plants because I could see how moist the soil is. It really is a good indicator, as well as the weight of them. But when I'm getting these ready, like I'm planting up a bunch to give away or whatever, because I'm a propagation fiend and I don't know when to stop, and I have too many. So I will put these in these pots, but I'll give the instructions to whoever I give it to, gift it to, that how to care for them and not to over love them. You don't want to overwater them. Like even indoors, the house plants during the winter, you do slow down in watering them, and you don't have to worry about them drying out too much. Now many of my house plants I bring outdoors, and you do water them more often in the summer. So there's that. I wanted to make sure you knew how to use these little self-watering pots if you found any. Now there's others that don't have the lip. It's just, they just have the bottom, and you really can't tell if there's any in there. All you have to do is you water, and it may start to run out because you can't see how much is in there. If it doesn't start to run out, that's fine, but you knew you gave them enough. Then you, after half an hour, go ahead and tip it, and the bottom will drain out, and you won't overwater or drown your plants. With the water sitting in the bottom, it drowns the roots. Causes them to rot from sitting in there. But another way that will help, I didn't do it this time. A lot of times I'll put like a ½ inch of just perlite before I put any of the soil in. And the perlite actually holds oxygen. So there's less chance of you suffocating your plants and they're being rot. So that's just a little note on how to use these pots. And I use these for more than just the Christmas and Thanksgiving cactus. I use these for many things. They make a decorative little pot. You can put them in your house. Now, when I water, I'm very careful if I don't have something under them. You always want to. You don't want to ruin your furniture. So there's that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and go ahead and get out there and propagate your cactus. I have tutorials for how to paint the flowers on these jars over on pamelagropey.com. So you can go ahead and go watch that. And I wish you many blooms on your holiday cactus. So, see you later.